The galaxy was full of rules. Ancient empires had written them long before humans learned to fly beyond their moon. Every planet, every alliance, every species followed them without question. But humans were different. They had only joined the Galactic Council 20 years ago, and already, their presence caused ripples everywhere. Among those ripples stood Commander Ethan Hale, a human officer stationed on Valora Prime, the shining heart of the Valorian Empire, a race known for their unmatched beauty, telepathic strength, and strict traditions. Humans were seen as unpredictable, emotional, and far too direct. The Valorians often called them children of fire. Ethan never cared about titles or politics. He came to Valora Prime for peacekeeping duty, to help maintain order between the human colonies and Valorian borders. But fate had another plan waiting for him, one that would shake the very stars. The arrival of the Queen. The Valorian capital gleamed like a jewel beneath 3 suns. Tall crystal towers rose from silver streets, their tips shimmering with energy. The people were preparing for the choosing ceremony, an event held once every 1,000 cycles. On that day, their ruler, the Valorian Queen, would telepathically bond with a chosen partner, a political and spiritual connection that united their empire's will. No one expected a human to even attend, let alone be noticed. Ethan was standing near the edge of the Grand Hall wearing his black Terran uniform. His posture was straight, his expression calm, but his mind was uneasy. The hall was full of whispers, glances, and laughter, mostly directed at him. He was the only human invited. Then the doors opened. A soft golden light spilled across the marble floor. The Queen entered, Queen Serafina Valora, ruler of 1,000 worlds. Her silver skin glowed faintly, her long violet hair flowing behind her like starlight. When she looked at people, it felt as if she could see not only their face but also their soul. Ethan bowed slightly. Every Valorian in the hall knelt, touching their foreheads to the floor. But the Queen paused. Her gaze swept across the crowd, then stopped on him. For a moment, time froze. No sound, no movement, just her eyes, bright, calm, and curious, locked on his. The command from the council later that day in the council chamber, the Valorian High Lords gathered. Their faces were tight with anger. The Queen looked at him, said Lord Kale, his voice sharp. A human. It was against all prophecy. The bond must be between Valorian blood. She cannot choose an outsider, another hissed, especially one from Earth. The humans must remain our subordinates, said the eldest counselor. If she bonds with him, it will break our traditions. They sent an immediate order to the Queen. You will reject the human. Before the next dawn, the choosing must continue as planned, with a Valorian partner. The Queen's heart, in her private chamber, Queen Serafina stood before the starlit window. Her thoughts were not her own. They were full of his image, that strange human with sharp eyes who bowed instead of kneeling, who stood with quiet strength yet showed no pride. She had seen his memories when their eyes met. The briefest telepathic spark had passed between them. In that instant she felt his world, oceans, wars, laughter, and pain. Humanity's story flashed before her. A young race that had fallen and risen again countless times, always fighting for survival. She was fascinated, but she also knew her duty. When the messenger arrived with the council's order, she closed her eyes. Her heart tightened. She was born to obey tradition, not question it. Still, something inside whispered that maybe this human's presence was meant to happen. Ethan's discovery back in his quarters. Ethan received a visit from Ambassador Lyra, a Valorian diplomat who had worked with humans for years. She seemed nervous. Commander, she began softly, there are rumors spreading. The Queen. She may have looked into your mind. Ethan frowned. That wasn't intentional. She saw something, Lyra said. Something that disturbed the council. They want her to reject you publicly. Ethan sighed, rubbing his forehead. Reject me? I didn't even do anything. You don't understand, Lyra warned. In Valorian culture, a royal glance during the choosing means connection. If she looked at you, it means her heart or mind recognized yours. It's sacred. Ethan stared at her. So they think I somehow made her look at me? Yes, and they're furious. Ethan leaned back, thinking. He didn't care for politics, but the idea that someone might be punished just for looking at him made his blood boil. Then I'll talk to her, he said. Lyra's eyes widened. That's impossible. No human has ever spoken to the Queen alone. Then it's about time one did. The Forbidden Meeting. That night, Ethan walked through the silent palace halls. The guards recognized his clearance but eyed him suspiciously. Somehow he found himself at the Queen's garden, a place said to be filled with living starlight. Seraphina stood beside the glowing water fountain, her figure reflected in the shimmering surface. When she heard his footsteps, she turned slowly. "Commander Hale," she said, her voice calm but distant. "You should not be here." "I know," he replied, "but I heard the council wants you to reject me publicly." "I don't want to cause trouble." Her silver eyes softened. "You did not. It was I who looked. Against the will of prophecy." Ethan stepped closer, his voice gentle. "Why?" She hesitated. "Because, when I saw your mind, I saw something powerful. Humans are fragile, yet you keep fighting. You build even after destruction. You rise after every fall. I saw hope," he smiled faintly. "Hope is something we're stubborn about." Seraphina looked at him for a long moment. "They ordered me to forget that moment, to stand before the galaxy and reject you, but my heart does not obey." The words hung between them like a spark waiting to ignite. The warning suddenly, alarms blared through the palace. A red light pulsed across the walls. Ethan turned sharply. "What's happening?" Seraphina's eyes narrowed. "The council, they know you are here." Footsteps echoed from the corridor. Armed Valorian guards rushed toward the garden. Ethan stood his ground, but Seraphina raised her hand and the air shimmered. A telepathic wave stopped the guards in place. "Go," she whispered, "before they see you." "I'm not running," he said firmly. Her eyes softened again. "You are brave, but bravery will get you killed here." Ethan looked at her, then nodded slowly. "Then let me stand beside you, not behind you." Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her like that, not even the highest nobles. Then she said quietly, "Tomorrow the choosing begins. The whole galaxy will watch. I am supposed to reject you. But if I choose you instead, it will change everything." Ethan met her gaze. "Then let it change." The dawn before the storm as dawn broke, the palace shimmered under golden light. The grand hall filled with billions watching through holographic screens across the galaxy. The Queen would choose her partner. Every empire, every race, every leader was waiting. Behind the scenes, the council prepared to enforce their command. Ethan stood at the edge of the crowd, heart pounding. Seraphina stepped forward, her royal robe flowing like liquid silver. The High Lord announced, "The Queen will now make her sacred choice." Her eyes scanned the hall, past the nobles, past the warriors, until they stopped on him again. A silence deeper than space itself fell over the hall. Every heart waited. Every world held its breath, and in that moment she spoke softly, yet her words echoed through the entire galaxy. "I choose the human." The grand hall fell silent after the Queen's words. Billions watched through the holographic screens across the galaxy. The Valorian nobles stared in disbelief, their silver eyes wide with shock. The High Lord stood frozen, unable to speak. Then the murmurs began, first soft, then rising like thunder. "She chose the human? Impossible. This is against the ancient law." Ethan Hale could feel every gaze turning toward him. He had never felt so exposed, standing there in his black Terran uniform among the sea of glowing Valorians. Yet even under the weight of the galaxy's judgment, he didn't look away from her. Queen Seraphina stood tall and calm. Her glowing eyes met his. A faint, knowing smile touched her lips. The chaos in the Hall Lord Kale, leader of the High Council, stepped forward, his voice shaking with fury. "Your Majesty, this cannot stand. The sacred bond must be between Valorian minds. A human is not capable of sustaining our telepathic connection." Seraphina lifted her chin. "The choosing is guided by truth, not by fear." My mind recognized his. My heart accepted it. The hall erupted again. The guards looked at each other uncertainly, unsure whether to protect the Queen or to follow the Council's unspoken orders. Ethan could feel tension building in the air like static before a storm. He stepped forward slowly, his voice calm but strong. "Your Majesty, if this causes trouble..." She raised her hand gently, silencing him. "Commander Hale, do not speak of guilt for something beyond your control. You did not choose this, I did." Her words carried power. The entire hall went quiet again. The order of arrest moments later, the High Council regrouped in private chambers. The room pulsed with anger and fear. She has broken the code, one elder said bitterly. A Valorian ruler cannot link with another species. Lord Kale slammed his hand on the table. Then she is no longer fit to rule. We must take control of the throne before her decision spreads chaos across the empire. Another counselor added. And what of the human? Kale's eyes glowed with cold hatred. Arrest him. Quietly. If he disappears, the queen will have no choice but to follow tradition. The order was given. Ethan's capture that night. Ethan was in his quarters preparing a report for the Terran embassy. The stars outside Valora Prime shimmered peacefully, hiding the danger below. Suddenly, the door slid open. A squad of Valorian guards entered, their weapons glowing with blue energy. Commander Ethan Hale, the leader announced. By order of the High Council, you are under arrest for disrupting royal protocol. Ethan stood up calmly. Disrupting? I didn't even touch anyone. Silence. You will come with us. He could tell from their expressions that arguing was useless. Still, as they escorted him through the corridors, he noted every turn, every door, his soldier instincts active. When they reached the holding chamber, Ethan was locked inside an energy field. The air shimmered around him, sealing him in. He sat down, thinking. It wasn't fear he felt, it was frustration. Not for himself, but for her, the queen's anger. When the queen learned what had happened, the palace walls trembled from the force of her rage. Energy flickered around her like lightning. Who gave this order? She demanded. Lord Kale and the other council members bowed, pretending calm. Your Majesty, it was done for your safety. The human's presence threatens stability. You dare imprison someone under my protection? Her voice echoed like thunder. Release him at once, Kale's face hardened. With respect, Your Majesty, you have already defied our laws. Do not defy us again. The tension in the room grew sharp. The guards looked nervous. Seraphina's eyes glowed brighter. You forget who I am, Lord Kale. I am not your servant, I am your queen. She turned and swept out of the chamber, her gown flowing behind her like starlight. The council could only watch as she marched toward the detention wing. The rescue. The guards outside Ethan's cell stiffened when they saw her approaching. Open it, she commanded. Your Majesty, the council. I am the council now, she interrupted, her voice calm but deadly. The energy barrier flickered and vanished. Ethan stood as she entered. Queen Seraphina, he said quietly. You shouldn't be here. They'll turn against you, she met his gaze. They already have. But I will not let them destroy what is right. He stepped closer. Why risk everything for me? Because when I looked into your mind, she said softly, I saw the truth of what we have lost. We the Valorians forgot what courage feels like. You reminded me. Before he could reply, alarms rang again. This time louder, sharper. They've found us, Ethan said grimly. Seraphina nodded. Then we run. Escape from the palace. The corridors blazed with red warning lights. Guards moved in every direction. Ethan and the queen sprinted through secret hallways she had memorized since childhood. Left, she whispered. There's a maintenance tunnel behind that panel. Ethan pried it open and helped her crawl through. For the first time in her life, the Queen of Valora moved through dust and metal instead of golden halls. After several minutes, they emerged near the palace landing bay. Sleek ships lined the platform, guarded by soldiers. Ethan crouched behind a pillar. We'll never make it out together, he said. They'll expect that. Then what do you suggest? She asked. He looked at her, eyes steady. You go. I'll draw them away. She shook her head firmly. No. A queen does not abandon those she has chosen. Before he could argue, she reached out and touched his forehead. A warm, electric sensation flowed through him. What did you just do? He asked, startled. I shared my link, she said. You can now hear my thoughts across any distance. Ethan blinked. Telepathy? That's new. Use it wisely, she said with a faint smile. The chase moments later, they made their move. Ethan created a diversion, overloading the bay's energy grid. Alarms howled, lights burst, and the guards turned toward the explosion. Seraphina sprinted toward a small silver ship. Ethan followed, covering her from behind. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air. He ducked and rolled, returning fire with a stolen weapon. The ship's ramp lowered, and they both jumped inside. Ethan slammed the hatch shut while Seraphina took the controls. The engines roared. The ship lifted, broke through the palace dome, and shot into the sky. Hold tight, she warned. They'll send pursuit crafts. Wouldn't be the first time someone tried to shoot me down, he muttered. As the ship broke through the upper atmosphere, 3 Valorian interceptors appeared behind them. They're locking on, Ethan said. Serafina closed her eyes. Not for long. Her hands glowed and suddenly the ship shimmered. The interceptors lost their target lock as the vessel bent light around itself. Ethan stared in amazement. You just made us invisible. Only for a short time, she said. We need to reach neutral space. The revelation hours later, they finally entered the quiet dark of open space. The stars stretched endlessly ahead. Serafina leaned back in her seat, exhausted but calm. Ethan looked out the window, then at her. So what now? The council's probably declared you a traitor? I know, she said softly, but I do not regret my choice, he frowned. They'll come after you, after both of us. Then we show them why they should fear humanity, she said with a quiet smile. He chuckled. Now that sounds like something my people would say. Her eyes met his again, glowing softly. You humans always rise even when the universe pushes you down. That is why I chose you, not just as a bond, but as a symbol. If we survive this, the galaxy will know that strength is not born of bloodlines, but of will. Ethan nodded slowly. Then let's survive. The broadcast, meanwhile, on Valora Prime, Lord Kale stood before the Galactic Council. Holograms of leaders from hundreds of worlds flickered around him. The Queen has betrayed our laws, he declared. She has fled with the human. We must restore order before chaos spreads. But then a new hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It was the Queen. Her calm voice filled the hall. People of the galaxy, the Council has ruled through fear and tradition for too long. I will not be part of that. I have chosen freely, as every being should. If they call me a traitor, so be it. But remember, freedom begins when one dares to choose. The transmission ended, leaving stunned silence across the galaxy. The last line, in the small ship drifting between stars, Ethan looked at her with quiet respect. You just declared war on your own empire, Serafina smiled faintly. No, I declared truth. Ethan leaned back, gazing at the stars. Then I guess we're in this together, she nodded. Together. Outside, the stars shimmered brighter as if the universe itself was listening. But somewhere behind them, Valorian warships were already preparing to hunt. The real battle was just beginning. The stars stretched endlessly before them, silent witnesses to what was about to come. Ethan Hale and Queen Serafina Valora sat side by side in the small command cockpit of their sleek ship, drifting through the unclaimed reaches of the galaxy. Behind them, Valorian warships streaked across space like silver comets, engines blazing with intent. Each one was faster, stronger, and more advanced than any human vessel. The Council's order was simple: capture the Queen and erase the human threat. Yet Ethan refused to feel fear. He glanced at Serafina, her violet eyes calm yet shining with determination. Are you ready? She asked. Ethan gave a wry smile. I've never had a choice like this before, but yes, I'm ready. Gathering allies before they could engage, they needed allies. Serafina accessed secure communication channels, reaching out to other worlds that had quietly supported her in the past. They contacted the Irani Free Worlds, a group of planets historically oppressed by the Valorian Empire. Irani leaders had long admired humanity's resilience and were eager to defy the High Council. Within hours, a small fleet of Irani warships aligned with them, ready to stand against the Valorian forces. Ethan was amazed. You've done this before? She shook her head. Not exactly. But I've learned that power alone cannot rule the galaxy. Trust and courage can. Together they plotted a course to the neutral system of Trelora, where they could regroup and strategize. But the Council was already in pursuit, determined to end the challenge before it spread. First clash. The first battle erupted near the asteroid fields of Trelora. Valorian interceptors swooped in from all sides, firing plasma streams that lit the void with deadly color. Ethan's heart pounded, yet his hands were steady on the controls. Take evasive maneuvers, Serafina commanded. Ethan tilted the ship sharply, dodging a stream of energy bolts that passed mere meters away. Behind them, Orani warships returned fire, their plasma cannons blasting Valorian ships into fragments. Even with the smaller fleet, the human ingenuity shone. Ethan coordinated their movement, using the asteroids as cover and predicting enemy patterns with instinct and strategy. Valorian pilots, highly trained and precise, were caught off guard by a human mind, thinking in unpredictable ways. Serafina watched him with admiration. "You humans always find a way." He glanced at her with a faint grin. "Not just humans. We're stubborn too." Her eyes sparkled, and for a brief moment the galaxy seemed still. Only their determination remained. The Council strikes. The Valorian High Council was furious. Their screens showed shattered ships and a human commander holding his own against elite pilots. "This cannot continue," Lord Kale shouted. "If she defies us, every world will rise in rebellion." Elder Counselor Rin nodded. "Then we escalate. Mobilize the fleet fully. Take the Queen by force if necessary. Destroy the human if required. The galaxy must obey." Ethan, unaware of the full scale of their fury, noticed the number of incoming warships increasing exponentially. "They're not letting this end quietly," he muttered. Serafina's expression darkened. "They never will, unless we show them something they cannot ignore." A bold move, the fleet entered orbit around Trailora Prime, a massive neutral planet with rich mineral resources. Serafina activated a long-range beacon, broadcasting a message to every world within signal range. "People of the galaxy, the High Council has ruled through fear and tradition for millennia. I stand with the human commander Ethan Hale, who has shown bravery, intelligence, and hope in the face of tyranny. If you fear oppression, if you value freedom, rise with us. The time to choose is now." The message spread like wildfire. Ships from neighboring systems, tired of Valorian rule, began to appear in support. Ethan looked at her in disbelief. "You just started a revolution," she smiled faintly. "No, Commander. I reminded the galaxy that courage is universal. Humans taught me that. Now it's time to prove it." The human factor, the next hours were chaos. Valorian warships descended in waves, yet the combined forces of humans, Orani, and other rebellious systems fought with relentless determination. Ethan coordinated strategy, predicting enemy moves and improvising with human unpredictability. He directed smaller squadrons to flank, lured larger ships into asteroid fields, and used makeshift tactics the Valorians had never seen. Every calculated risk, every clever maneuver, showcased the value of human ingenuity. Serafina watched from the bridge, sending telepathic support to her forces, boosting morale and coordinating attacks with her psychic link. Ethan noticed something remarkable. Even the Valorian soldiers hesitated, unsure if they could oppose the Queen herself. The human spark, resilience, creativity, and courage was contagious. The turning point during the heaviest part of the battle, a Valorian dreadnought appeared, a massive warship heavily armed and shielded. The Council's flagship, its sheer presence caused panic among Allied forces. "We can't take it head-on," Ethan said grimly. Serafina placed a hand on the console. "Leave it to me. Follow my lead." As the dreadnought advanced, the Queen projected a massive telepathic pulse, disrupting the ship's internal systems. Ethan steered their smaller vessel inside the chaos, dodging debris and energy beams. Using a daring maneuver through a ring of molten asteroids, Ethan guided the human Orani fleet to hit the dreadnought's weak points, where precision and ingenuity mattered more than raw power. Finally, a coordinated strike from all sides tore the massive ship apart. A massive explosion lit the surrounding space. The tide had turned. Victory and recognition. The Council's fleet, demoralized and leaderless, began to retreat. News of the battle spread quickly. A human and a Valorian queen had defied the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and won. Ethan sat exhausted, yet he felt pride swell within him. Serafina placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've done more than survive," she said softly. "You've reminded the galaxy what strength truly is. Not power, not lineage, but will, courage, and determination." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't do it alone. You believed in me. That's why we won." Her violet eyes glowed warmly. "We did this together, Commander. Together, humanity and Valoria will redefine the future. A new era, the battle's aftermath, changed the galaxy forever. Systems long oppressed by the Valorian Empire gained confidence to govern themselves. The Orani free worlds became an ally of humans and Valoria. Queen Serafina convened a council, but this time she allowed all species to have a voice. She made it clear, no one species could dictate the galaxy's fate alone. Ethan, still a human soldier, was elevated to Galactic Advisor, a role unprecedented for a Terran. His insight, strategies, and courage had proven that humans were a force the galaxy could no longer underestimate. Valorian traditions slowly adapted. The choosing ceremony, once a rigid ritual, now honored personal choice. No longer would fear rule their empire. The bond in the quiet moments away from the fleets and councils. Ethan and Seraphina sat together on the observation deck of the Queen's flagship. "Do you think the galaxy will ever accept a human as truly equal?" Ethan asked. Seraphina smiled faintly. "They already have. And even if some resist, courage and truth always find a way. Humans have shown me that." Ethan looked at her. "And you've shown me that even the oldest empire can change, if the right person believes in it." Their hands brushed lightly, telepathic and physical connections intertwining. Two species, two wills, united by choice, courage, and respect. Beyond the deck, stars stretched endlessly. But now they were no longer just witnesses. They were a galaxy ready for a new chapter. The last line, Ethan Hale and Queen Seraphina Valora stood side by side. Looking out over the galaxy, they had changed. For the first time, humanity was not just surviving among the stars. Humanity was thriving, respected, and celebrated, in the galaxy. For the first time, knew that courage, hope, and determination could shine brighter than any ancient law or empire. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they had changed the fate of every world. The galaxy had witnessed the truth. Humans were not just visitors among the stars. They were a force that could inspire hope across every corner of existence.